Hello everyone, my name is Vince ALINAS and we are the group 5. We're gonna present today the Japanese industrial standard.
My name is Adrian Armarides, and
I'm NANO Jr.
And I'm Joshua Angelo L. Rule, and we are the Group 5.
Hello everyone, my name is Vince. I'm gonna be the first reporter on these Japanese industrial standards. Okay, next slide. Okay, we have here the definition of the technical standards. In Japan, electrical power technical standards corresponds to technical standards for electrical equipment. The Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry Ordinance, which is used as a proper noun. The reason is that the ordinance cover most of the standards concerning electrical equipment broadly, and the role of the ordinance as a primary standards electrical equipment. However, strictly speaking, standards for voltage or frequency or for the environment regulated according to electrical or industry law are also technical standards of electrical power. The ordinance are not so technical standards. Technical standards corresponds to a very wide range of regulations according to their purpose and the object. Therefore, the meaning of technical standards should be defined clearly before proceeding to project suggestions. Okay, so we have here mostly is technical standards usually means Kijun and Kikaku. Okay, just looking for my second notes here. Okay, can you go to the next slide? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Kikaku. This is the first. This is established based on agreement and approved by an official organization with the aim of achieving adequate uh, order. This idea is universal. Kikaku is categorized as general, products, methods, and symbol. General, here it is defining term, symbol, unit, and so on, which are pretty common on Kikaku. Products, here is the defining of shapes, size, material, quality, and performance. Methods, here it is the defining methods of tests, analysis, inspections, and work. Okay, we should understand that Kikaku usually prescribes products and methods. However, Kikaku has a unique system in each country. So the situation differs in some cases, especially in Japan. This is Japanese Kikaku specifies product and does not have parts common of parts with Kijun Kikaku of each country. It is mentioned in detail in section 1.5. Okay, next slide for the Kijun. Okay, Kijun, thinking of properly pronounce this, but properly butchering it. Kijun, this prescribes design, installations, methods, or facilities or structures. That is to say, prescribes the methods how or what to do achieve the target, especially safety of not only each type of equipment but also all through transmission distribution facility system, including the methods of installations and connection, which are very important. This is because transmission and distribution facilities are composed of several products such as tower, conductor, and transformer, etc. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is Seikikaku. As you can see there in the diagram, this is Seikikaku and Kijin. Don't mean different parts. They have common part. That is the methods. As you can see here on the circle, Kijin is more on design and installation. Kikaku is term, symbol, shapes, and material. We can see here you can actually get it here on how to use the equipment. This is the word of Kijin on mostly design and installations. These are all in the standards of, for example, of making a facility. or making something electrical related in the Japanese. As we may know, the Japanese is a spectacular technology industry. I think it's the most leading, if not in the world, especially most cars today. Even though it's most part of it is electricity, it's pretty useful today. Okay. In Kikaku, terms, symbols, shapes, and material. What kind of equipment to use? This means that Kikaku is solely on the shape of a material inside of a instant structure. This also has the term and shapes and materials, etc. Here are the standards there. That, for example, and altogether, they have the common of they have the same methods, especially when following the orders there. Okay. Next slide. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, this is the Kijin and Kikaku standards. Kijin for installation facilities. We have here standards for electrical facilities. Okay. The next one is none is interpretation of standards, and the standards for electrical equipment is the Japanese industry standards. So meaning to say, the Japanese has a very high productivity when it comes to following the regulations of their electrical code. It also states that Japanese has a very particular safety measurements when using an equipment to use in every industry or building that they are building. As shown in figure 1.1, the one that has the double circle there, the one that has design installations, methods, term symbol shapes. Thus, Kijin doesn't contain a specification of equipment. These ideas are assumed knowledge in this research report. Okay, can you go to the next slide? Okay, as you can see here, this is the figure 1.2, as I can remember. Okay, figure number 2 shows the Japanese system of electrical power technical standards as an example, and explain the meaning of Kijun in detail. In this case, the standards aiming to achieve the target prescribed in the electrical power industry law take priority. These standards mean technical standards. In general, I'm gonna go back again. Technical standards is the corresponds ordinance which is used as the reason that is ordinance covers standards concerning electrical power equipment broadly, the role of ordinance as primary standards. So these are the standards that the Japanese are mostly following, especially in electricity. Okay, if I can recall it, electrical utility law. We have here the electrical facility should be safety target the law. If they are making, for example, as I said earlier, electrical related projects, they have to have the code to have the safety regulatory in their side strictly because Japanese follow mostly rules if you can remember. Okay, requirements for functions ordinance minimum regulations to be electrical facility should be safety. When handling electricity, they always have safety regulations. As I can see here, their number one priority when it comes to handling electricity is safety of each equipment. If it's, I'm surely some of them have a safety regulations, and then standards for electrical facility, requirements for performance ordinance, standards regulation, and standards for explanations. We have here specification detail, industry standards, complement minimum regulation to the electrical facility should be safe. Methods in detail, we have here Kyujin Kikaku to achieve the target, technical standards in general. As I said earlier, they have should be electrical facility should be safety when handling, as I said again, the electrical something like that. Okay, can you go to the next slide? Okay, we have here the law relative to standards of electrical facility. In the case of Japan, these are mostly the one that they uh, following the one that I'm actually talking about. We have here the electrical utility law, Article 39. Electrical facility should be maintained safety based on technical standards. If you can remember, recall technical standards, that's the one that they are maintaining to be followed. We have here relative ordinance, technical standards for electrical facility, prescribe basic performance, not numerical. Methods in detailed interpretation for technical standards, complement the technical standards and prescribes numerical regulations. Originally, it includes numerical 1, but was divided as interpretations after the regulations in excuse me, 1999. JEAC, JEAC, I think it's pronounced it as JEAC, Japan Electrical Standards Committee prescribes their own codes to complement ordinance. We have here the company code. Each utility establish own code based on their own technology. This is the one that I want to highlight. The company code, meaning that they have a specific safety when using own technology to see if it's actually safety to use in around non-safety people. Okay. The system shown in figure 1.2.1 example of standards aiming to secure safety of electrical facilities. In the case, the aim secures safety workers. The technical standards corresponds to occupation, safety, and healthy law. The technical standards differ according to the purpose, but the idea and the standards to aim the chief target, the meaning of technical standards in general is common. Okay, can you go to the next slide? Okay, we have here the dotted figure 1.1.1. What is technical standards in technical system? The dotted part 1.1 shows specification of and is unified international. Hikaku is IEC International Technical Commission. Considering the situation, establishment of new national Hikaku is not logical. Therefore, in this case, we define this part accepting that Hygiene corresponds to technical standards in technical aid program. However, we should point out that technical standards corresponds to several kinds of standards according to their purpose and object. Technical standards refers to international or national necessary standards. We have here the corresponding shown rank. Kikaku here is Kikaku standards for equipment. As you can see here, international, ICX, regional, Canwec, national, UKBS. We're going to define that later in our this chapter. I would recommend saving the notes for this. So just to make sure you can remember. Okay, in figure 1.1, system of Hikaku. Can you go to the next slide? Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, can you go back to the next last slide? I forgot to mention something. Hello? Can you back the slides? Okay, thank you very much. These are mostly the world's highest ranking, especially in standards, International Electrical Commission standards. Concerning electrical engineering, international standards gain their importance to need and for unified standards in Europe, and therefore establishments of committee and electrotechnical standardization to institute the unitary market in Europe. We have here those meaning. We're gonna go ahead and discuss one by one. Okay. Can you go to the next slide for me? Okay, thank you very much. These are the foreign standards. Mostly, here we're gonna discuss on what regulations follow, what regulations to be followed in other countries. What are the standards mostly used in the worldwide of electrical code? We're gonna discuss here mostly the electrical standards are on rules and regulations for the electrical code. Okay, we have the first one. ICE is International Electrotechnical Commission is the authoritative international organization standards to electrical engineering. Okay, just gonna go ahead and see here. It was established to reach mutual agreement on standardization of electrical equipment standards. There are 50 industrial countries that are members in ICE, in International Electrotechnical Commission. That's the meaning of it. Recently, some developing countries such as Indonesia, Philippines, Pakistan, Malaysia, and Thailand in Asia have become members of IEC. Industry association, consumer groups, government, and several engineering associations have joined the IEC committee as interested parties. Meaning, these are the most common used in most countries. So you can see here that we're gonna highlight the developing countries. I think don't really think Philippines is a developing country anymore as of now. Just kidding. Uh, as you can see here, we have line the line of Indonesia, Philippines, Pakistan, Malaysia, and Thailand. Meaning in Asia, we have become one of the members of this ICE in the authoritative organization standards related electrical engineering. These are the regulations mostly that we follow. These are the rules that we have set, and when following electrical codes like the technical standards, like I said earlier, here we have if you can read it on, I think it's actually you can read it on Google. The ICE, the Electoral Technology Commission. You can see here there that we are part as stated to here. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of interesting. Okay, we have here the SENELEC, European Committee for Electrotechnical Standardization, was established to establish voluntary electrical standards. SENELEC also aims to remove trade barriers, to create new markets, and to support the formulating Europe's economic areas. Under the agreement, European standards established in IEC rather, Canada members are 28 countries in Europe, including 8 countries in East Europe. Okay, the next is, can you go to the next slide? Okay, thank you very much. We have here the BS, the British Standard. I'm just gonna read first. BS standards is the leading set standards of the world. BS establishments with the aim of being applied worldwide and covers several areas, including terms, methods, specifications, installations, and so on. As you can see here, stated as worldwide covers several areas, including terms, methods, specifications, installations, and so on. We can see there that that's the method that I think it's Kijun or Kika. I'm just gonna go. It's actually both of them. It's the same method as Kikaki and Kijun. It's like you bind them together, and that's the British standard. I'm just checking here. And so this is what I want to discuss, especially the BS. Okay. Uh, uh, I'll wait for a minute. BSI, or British Standard Institution, has a long history in which 2001 was a centenary of Foundation BS established with the aim of being applied worldwide and covers several areas including terms, method, specification, installation, and so on. Industry association, consumer group, governments, several engineering associations joined BS committee. BS committee interested in parties. BSI members exceed 19,000. Attached document shows the catalog of BS. So meaning, British standard is the most worldwide used standards and technical standards that mostly most other countries use. So I think this has higher standards when it comes to electrical institutional law or something, because they did here it's the most used worldwide, so it's pretty common that it's the most I think it's the safest test standard that has far exceeding a person. Okay, can you go to the next slide? Okay, there's actually a missing one, but it's fine. Just checking here then. Wait for a moment. Okay, we have here uh, can you go back? I think I missed something. Okay, I have missed the PD explanation. Okay, the BD is a burden the future electrotechnic electrotechnical established by DEKI, the US Commission Electrotechnical. Very hard to pronounce that. According to the contract based on energy economic law, manufacturers, electrical power companies, government joined the DKE committee. Therefore, the consensus on several aspects can be reached easily. BD contains not only equipment specification, but also standards on facility installations and inspection. Energy economic law confers legal binding force on BD standards. Attached document number 3 shows the catalog on BD. Okay, next slide. Okay, we have here the NF, the Normalization de Française. It's approved by AFNOR, a government organization. Staff members in charge standards are assigned to AFNOR from relevant ministry. AFNOR doesn't establish any standards. It only approves standards prepared by the body that is in charge establishing standards. The Organization for Electrical Engineering is the sorry UTE, Electrical Engineering Association, which is France's largest organization in the field, and the second one is the UNM, Mechanical Engineering Association. NF is referred as legally binding standards by the ministerial ordinance. Okay, as you can see here, we have the which one here? We have here the ANSI. The role of ANSI, American National Standards Institution, is not established standard, but the formulate continues on standards among qualified standards established bodies. Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and um, just gonna go ahead and put my notes because I mostly forgot here. Okay, this is the American National. It's actually a non-profit organization that coordinates standards, technical regulations that relate to how businesses, consumer groups, government agencies function. We have here ANSI codes, standardized numeric or alphabetical codes. Okay, mostly American institution law is not established. Well, don't do that. Forgot the notes there. Okay, I'm just checking here again. We have the last one, the AS, the Australia, uh, call this Australia standards. It's the national standards of body Australia and covers all industry fields in SAI standard. Australia institution established as SAI is a non-profit corporate body to manage as Australian standards. Okay. Um, this means that covers all industry fields. Okay. Okay. Uh, There's actually a video that I want to play after this recording of mine. It's actually a 7 minute video, so if you have time to watch it, we're gonna go. And if not, you can go ahead and skip to Adrian's part. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
So good day, sir, and classmates. The report is all about safety system of electrical equipment in Japan. So next slide. Um, so first is the electrical utility system. In the context of the public utility business changing dramatically worldwide, the electrical utilities have been moving towards the regulation since 1990. So in Japan, um, the regulation of electrical utilities have been promoted to realize electric prices as low as the world standard by allowing um, new entrants from outside of the existing general electrical utility companies and exercising market and their principles. So after the amendments of electrical utility law in 1995 and 2000, which allow independent power producers or IPP and power producers and supplier, which is the PPS, who entered the electricity generation business and liberalized the electricity retails business for large demand customers. So Japanese electrical utilities have drastically changed in the last decades. So here is the following diagram that shows the current as of March 2006 pa yan. This is the electrical utilities in Japan. So which is the whole company. Oh, yes. Then the other ito. Then the producers and suppliers, so which is the willingness of transmission system. All high voltage customers can have over 6,000 voltage and then 50 kilowatts. So the captive powers is the self consumption. So electrical utility companies or the 10 companies have remained vertically integrated, although there are new entrants into the generation and retail business. However, new operation rules have transmission. Sections have been introduced to secure the neutrality and transparency of bidding. As of March 2006, the electric retail business has been liberalized up to the high voltage greater than 6,000 voltage and up to 50k um, up to 50k watts. The customer level liberalization for other customers is to be discussed. So let's proceed. Then here are the laws and regulation of safety of electrical equipment. So first of all is the progression of the safety regulation law. So there is a long history associated with the electric power of industry safety regulation in Japan. Originally, this regulation has an order of local government and then become a safety regulation law. Um, and by the national government, the content changed from being focused on new project approval to details regulation cornering safety when uh, the regulation law of electric power industry. So it is came into force in 1911. After that, it is divided into two categories, which is the electric utility, electric utility industry law, and then the electric work regulation in 1931. So independently safety regulation were established to ensure the safety of the persons in charge of electrical equipment and have existed over since present. The organization responsible for safety is to establish according to the Ministry of so Trade and Industry Ordinance that are defines technical standards on electrical equipment. Then the next one is the safety organization in the early stages. So the specific regulation for electric power industry regarding safety were ordered consisting of 15 clauses promulgated by the Metropolitan Police Department on August 8 on 1908, and then originally imposed on TEPCO, TEPCO's predecessor. So what is TEPCO? Uh, so TEPCO, it means Tokyo Electric Power Company Holding, incorporated as also known as TODEN, or yon nga, TEPCO, is a Japanese electric utility holding company serving Japan's Kanto region, or Yamanashi prefecture, no? And the eastern portion of the Shizuoka prefecture din. Then this area includes Tokyo. So the construction licensing inspection and the distance between wires and communication wires or group of houses were stipulated in this regulation. Then the application for installation of lights on sidewalks were basically submitted to Tokyo Metropolitan Government. However, activities involving roads were a matter for the Metropolitan Police Department. Therefore, the Metropolitan Police Department had an intimate involvement in this issue at that time. So the next one is the safety regulation enforced by local government. So um, a far unknown cause which burned down the Imperial Diet House in 1991 prompted discussion for establishing the electrical utility law in 1890 to 1947. So it is the prior to World War II. The Imperial Diet of Japan was composed of the House of the Peer and the House of Representatives as stipulated under the 1889 construction of the Empire of Japan. So what is Imperial Diet House? It is in a fire unknown cause, eh nga, sabi nga, di ba? That's it pala. That's it pala. So, regulatory law. The next is regulatory law of the electric power industry. So, it was established as a law of regulate the electric power industry in the same year. So it was the first time that the central government was able to regulate the electric power industry with the regulations. These regulations not only enable securing of electric safety but also made a significant contribution to reconfirming the regulatory procedures. Um, Conducted by the local government. So next, simple regulation to centralization of administrative power. So the Third Ministry Ordinance, which is the enforced of 1891, passed by the Communication Department, prescribed that any regulation set by a local government, governor would also require agreement from the Minister of the Communication Department. So this ordinance contribute to enhance regulation because application from the electric power industry significantly increased due to an electric power demand increases. So furthermore, the regulation for extra high voltage lines management, which includes the regulation restricting construction under power lines, was promo- promulgated on December 21st, 1907. This was the first safety regulation to transmission line which are not conventional overhead of distribution of the lines. So next, um, Next is the role of electrical utility law. So the current technical standards were promulgated in March 1997 and enforced in June of the same year. They were greatly simplified from the previous version by concentrating on equipment performance, which include most of the numerical standards, such as, for example, is standard for separation and then between overhead wires and building system. So here is the method. So first of all, it's the business regulation. It is to make an electrical business management adequate and rational. So what is the scope of it? It will to protect the profit of the utilities and then promote business growth. So the second method was safety regulation. It's basically to regulate maintenance of electrical facilities. So the scope here is keep public safety, and then the next one is to protect from pollution. So the next is role of the technical standards. Um, Based on Article 39 of the Electrical Utility Law, stipulates the technical standards which are legally binding Ministry of Economy. So it is trade and industry. So in ordinance shall regulate the design, construction, and maintenance of electrical equipment to ensure public safety and stable supply of electricity. So here in Article 39, Section 2 outlines the scope and content of the technical standards as follows: content of the technical standards as specified by Article 39 of the Electrical Utility Law. So how it will works, no? So here is the cycle. So first is to maintaining the standards, which is kailangan naman talaga na maintain ang standards basta sa ano ng ayun, sa engineering field. Then the next one is initial the project. Then the third one is the mobilizing the working group. Then drafting the standards, which is ayun nga, ito, meron na tayong mga articles, then mga laws. Then balloting the standards, then gaining final approval, and then maintaining the standards. So that's the cycle of it. Next. So based on that standards, the role of the technical standards, it includes the electrical equipment for business use shall not endanger any person or cause damage to property. So how to how to properly set that. So first is to prevention of electrocution, fire due to electricity leakage, flash over or short circuit, dam breaker, explosion, leakage of radioactive materials, smoke, soot, and other pollutants. So, kung mag-base tayo sa mga natutunan natin this past semester, um, which is the um, occupational safety health. So, na-discuss doon. So, example of electrical hazards, which is the overhead power lines. Yun. Then, yeah, as you can see, those are the example of electrical hazards. Then, the number two, electrical equipment for business use shall not cause electrical or magnetic damage to other electrical equipment or property. So, in prevention of inductive interference, um, radio disturbance, electrical corrosion, and interference of magnetic observation. So, all of these are all the same. So the next one is a failure of electrical equipment for business use shall not severely obstruct electricity supply by general electrical utility companies. So on prevention of damaging spreading from electrical equipment for private use to electrical utility companies. The next one. So here is the role of the interpretations of the technical standards. So the current technical standards were promulgated on March 1997 and enforced in June of the same year. They were greatly simplified from the previous version by concentrating on equipment performances, which includes most of the numerical standards such as, for example, standard for separation between overhead wires and buildings. Instead, the interpretation of the technical standards were introduced to specify numerical standards. So here is the table, that example of simplification of the technical standards, which includes the Article 25 of the technical standards, the heights of the overhead wires. So the overhead wires shall not stretch as such heights to ensure safety from any contact, inductive interference or traffic disturbance. So, to para mas maano natin yan, mas magets natin yan, here is the Article 07 of the interpretation of the technical standards, which is the heights of the overhead wires of extra high voltage. So, overhead wires of extra high voltage shall not stretch above grounds at height above the value of the right column of the following table in accordance of the service voltage classified in the left column. So the service voltage, ito nga kadalasan yung mga nakikita natin na sa overhead wires na nakikita natin sa mga kalsada, ganyan. So not greater than 35,000 volts, which is napakalakas na yan. Then so ang height above ground niya is 5 meters or 5.5 meters for railway crossings, 6 meters across road and 4 meters for insulated wires or cable stretched over bridges. So ayan yung makikita natin sa mga daan. Lahat, basta ayan kahit sa MRT, yan, makikita natin yan. So, greater than 35,000 volts and not greater than 160,000 volts. So here it is, ano naman siya, 6 meters from above the ground and then 5 meters for rarely visited areas such as mountains and 5 meters for insulated wires or cables stretched across the bridges. So yan, ito, makakakita naman tayo nito sa mga uh, sa mga probinsya. Yan, sa probinsya natin makikita yan, yung mga malalaki. Kala natin Eiffel Tower din. So, greater than 160 volts. So, 6 meters, then 5 meters from rarely visited areas such as mountain, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina. Then, plus 12 centimeter for each 10,000 volts, exceeding 160 volts, 160,000 volts, or part there. Oh, so, the technical standards were simplified according to the following points. No? So, the reason why the technical standards were simplified is because the first one is the technical standards shall be flexible, reflected technological advances, advanced by concentrating on safety performance level. So, selection of risk of analysis method. So it is the narrative literature review of the paradigm safety concept of the regulation of tobacco testing. So that's it. So the table one, traditional safety methods, which is compounding and the um, trust- tractability framework. Then the table two is complexity thinking inspired safety methods. So kailangan yun. Then the risk of industry of 4.0 is new engaging the risk of industry of 4.0. So the table 4 is to break down of the conceptual safety challenges in learn from industry of 4.0. So the conclusion answering to industry 4.0 is the problem spaces. So kung makikita niya naman, di ba, na kailangan kapag magsiset ka ng ganyan na meron mga wirings, ganyan, dapat nasa uh, maayos na place siya ilagay. The next. So the second one is the technical standard shall quickly adopt technological advance by referring for foreign and private standards. So the first one is the interoperability. So it is the standardization ensure the interoperability of devices, equipment, and applications around the world. This allows economies of the scale of the production of the communities of equipment by permitting the manufacturers to sell in multiple markets, bringing down prices more. The next one is the competition. So standardization can promote the competition among the technologies and applications because of the interoperability and rapid deployment that standardization enables competing manufacturers from around the world can offer their products in more markets, leading to consumer benefits like lower prices and more choices of the product. So the deployment. This reduces the barrier to entry. The new markets can accelerate technology adapting from different regions. Then the safety is it is a common global technical standards protecting human and environmental health through inactive in initiatives such as limitation potential exposure to harmful uh, materials and the radiations. The next one. So here is the types of technical standards. So the technical standards in terms of maintenance and inspections include the five types of in figures. No? Among them, the technical standard for electrical equipment, then hydropower generation equipment, thermal power generation equipment, and related to the corresponding interruption. So first of all is the technological standard for electrical equipment. So sa equipment, mabilis nyo naman agad sa word na equipment eh. So, ano ba yung mga equipment na ginagamit in terms of electrical, which is yeah, pliers, um, meters, yun nga, diba? Then the next one is the technological standard for hydropower generation equipment. So, in the hydro generation equipment, ayun. So in hydro generation equipment, ayan naman, sa ano yan, yung mga sa um, sa tubig, ganyan, di ba? Yan. Then, the next one is the next one pala is the technological standard for thermal power generation equipment and standard for nuclear power generation equipment. So almost the same lang naman sila. No? Ang pinagkakaiba lang kasi ng um, geothermal is ayun, yung ay thermal power generation is yung nagbaburn sila ng oil, nagbaburn sila ng uli, ganyan. Then, sa nuclear naman, almost the same lang naman, pero less pollution doon sa nuclear generation. Then, the technological standards for wind power generation equipment. So, yan. Alam naman natin yan. Wind, diba? That's, so, here, the video, para mas lalo pa natin maintindihan ang electric power outside of the area case. Sige. So, no, wala po palang sound. Then, just continue for our side. Let's continue for our report. So, the legal system for safety of electrical equipment. So, as described above, the technical standards are foundation of the legal system centered on the electrical utility law. It is an explain of the technical standard for electrical equipment, which describe the relationship between a electrical utility law, the technical standards uh, for the technical standard and other standards. So, the role of the interpretation of the standard is mentioned above. So, here is now they can refer to any standard established by fair, neutral, and transparent organization. For example, for those set by the Japan Electrical Standards and Code Committees or GESC, GESC, is it is published approved as the supplement for the technical standards. So as you can see here, this is the electrical utility law, which is the art um, under the base of Article 39, the electrical facility should be maintained based on technical standards. So what are those technical standards kanina? Gaya nga ng in-explain ko kanina, nandito siya sa figure natin. So a relative law and ordinance, so the government ordinance, first is the electric utility law administrative ordinance. So under here is the relative ministerial ordinance, which is electrical utility administrative rule, ordinance concealing to chief engineers, qualifications, and then ordinance concerning to business report. So here is the technical standards that I say earlier. No? So first is the technical standards for electrical equipment, which is na discuss naman natin kanina, yung mga equipment sa electrical. Then the next one is the standard for thermal power plant. Then for hydro power plant, nuclear power plant, the wind power plant, the wealth of electrical equipment for nuclear fuel, for power plant. So, method and details for technical standards, here is the interruption of technical standards, which to make the possible to both international or voluntarily standards. So, that includes the Japanese industry standards or JIS. So, I did. Checks, checks. So, the code subordination, then the code of transmission, code of cables. Yeah, nalidiscuss naman natin yan so far. So here it is. So, the role of GIS. So, the Japanese Industrial Standard, GIS, are national standards designed by the Japanese Industrial Standards Committee and established under the name of Minister in charge. As for electrical equipment, other than GIS, there are several independent industrial standards, including those in table below. So here it is the relative industrial standards that I say. So first of all is the Japanese Electrotechnical Committee. So Japanese Electrical Committee or GEC is working on the standardization of GEC or JIS and ITC. In this article, the history and the acting of Japanese electrotechnical committees are reported. And then recently, topics are also described Japanese standards like GEC and JIS, etc. Are settled and maintained consider the international standard like IEC, also Japanese new technologies and opinions are expected to be reflecting in the international standards. So So starting the standardization Japan industrial standardization project are based on the industrialization law. So it is encanted in 1949, the Japanese industrial standards have been promoted as the norm. So, alright, as an organization that established group standards in Japan, or the NEC, it was in the 43rd year of the Meiji era that the Crux Committee, currently the Electrical Standards Committee, was established. It was February 1910. Next one. So the next one is
Gagi,
the Japanese
kinakatugtog mo.
cable standard. So ito nga yun, yung sabi ko kanina, di ko na ma-explain natin yun. So in the infra- infrastructure, in the form of electric power supply, grid and techno-communication network is essential to a modern life. So the electric wires and cables that underpin this infrastructure are as important to today's society as nerves and blood vessels are to the body. So, JSC social contribution comes to fostering the development of the electric wire and the cable industry on which our society depends. So, I have the ano tawag dito? Example mamaya, paano siya, kung ba't siya important. So, yun. So, Japanese cable standard formulates all types of standards for use of these electric wires and cables. So, misuse of electric wires cause accidents and then injuries every day. So, ano pa nga bang expected natin? That's electricity. Di ba? So, we help ensure public safety by promoting standards in wire and cable design and use jump cap. So, research wire and cable's performance to discern the needs of society and set standards. It's a job we do because many manufacturers cannot do it on their own. So, here it is the example. So for homes and other buildings, power and power and telecommunication wiring installed in ceiling, floors, and walls at home and other buildings is designed with safety in mind to avoid fires, electric shock, and so on. So yeah. So familiar naman tayo dito kasi sa base pa lang sa ano natin, pinag-aralan natin sa kung paano, kung ano yung mga size ng wires, cables na kailangan na nasa, um, nasa household natin or nasa buildings, ganyan. So, yeah, next. Rows of GIS. Is it, no? So, the second one is the standardization of harmonization. So, um, harmonization of standards for electric wires and cable with international or IEC standards incorporate with relevant organization, we are proceeding with the task of formulating JIS standards harmonized with international ones and
Gagi.
revising technical standards for electrical appliances and equipment. Then the second one is the enlightenment of conductor size designed in low voltage power cables for optimal environmental performance. Kaya nga sabi ko, di ba, yung bawat sa isang ng cables, wires. So, following the issue of international, so which is the IEC standards or environmental considerations specific to insulated electrical power and control cables. Um, to reduce transmission loss, we will disseminate these IEC standards to affiliate and companies. Then the next one is the international standardization of aluminum and aluminum and aluminum alloy wires, coated and studded metallic wires for overheaded wires. So, isa ba natin yung nakikita kadalasan sa mga overhead wires, yung mga live wires. Yun. So, we will contribute to the activity of international standardization by integrating the IEC standards for each material for overhead lines and individual standards of each country into one IEC standards. And that's one. So, here it is, the Japan Electrical Manufacturers Association. So, here is the role of the GIS or the so, promotion of HEMS international standardization collaboration with PERMS. So, that's it. Yan, no? Makikita naman natin sa map kung paano nakikipag-ugnayan yung nakikipag, nakikipag-ugnayan yung Japan sa iba't ibang bansa, kung paano rin na produce um, yung Electrical Manufacturers Association. So, the next one is right. So, Japan Electrical Manufacturer. So, here it is. GEMA was operated National Mirror Committee for many IECES as an secretary. So, here's the ano nila, yung project, then reflecting the Japan's knowledge into some requirements of international standard development for safety and reliable of solar photovoltaic energy system, and it promotes the development of related domestic standards in or the Japanese Industrial Standards or GIS or GEMA standards at the same time. So developing newly standards for leading the cooperation of business. So yun. Next one. So the role of GIS, so it ends here. So GIS and other industrial standards are private agreements which manufacturers, sellers, users, and academic experts establish and have no binding authorities. While the technical standards based on the electrical utility law and the electrical appliances safety law. It can impose punishment on their violators. Therefore, any product which are subject to the law must comply with the technical standards, regardless of whenever they are manufactured or accordance with other industrial standards or not. So the interpretation of the technical standards refers to GIS and other industrial standards. That's my report. Then, let's proceed to the next reporter, which is Rolly Nano.
Um, Hello everyone. I'm Rolly NANO Jr. and I'm talking about safety system in developed countries. Next, as you can see, the outline of safety system in developed countries. We visited on our research mission 5 countries: U.S., UK, Germany, France, Australia. Here we visited 2 states in U.S. and Australia. Uh, because the safety system in different in each state, we took the influence of electric utility system or the situation of the regulation to safety system into account selected in the state to research keeping the vertical integrated system. Georgia State established the regulated system in New Jersey State. And in Australia, we selected main state. It is Victoria and New South Wales states. And next slide. Uh, this table is the legal system for electrical equipment technical standards. This outlines details regarding the legal state associated with electrical equipment technical standards for five developed countries based on this investigation. As you can see, this the existence technical standard law, the type, the state, and the note. Una dyan is yung US, Georgia. Yung type niya is detailed private standards. Yung existing technical standard law niya is none. And uh, the Australia, New South Wales, same lang sa detailed private standard and yung existence law niya is recommendation for adopting technical standards. And sa UK is, yung type niya is ministry standards, essential points only. While the standard law is obligation of complying with technical standards. Yung tatlo na pala yun is yun yung sa US, New Jersey, Germany, France, and Australia. Ah, sabi daw dyan sa table na yan, each developed country is investigated in this study has a technical standard equivalent to technical standard on electrical equipment. Ministry ordinance and its explanation in Japan, even though these countries possess difference in history, culture, and thought and so on. And nonetheless, the detailed standards like the explanation of technical standards in Japan are rarely established as law in almost of all countries. These detailed standards are established as private standards with respect to regulation of environment protection and labor safety. Every country has different legal organizations with respect to technical standards because aims and supervisors agency are different. Uh, next quiz. Dito, mapapag-usapan natin yung legal system of technical standards in different countries. Unang-una dyan is yung US, sumunod UK, Germany, France, and Australia. Pag-usapan natin yung sa US. Next. Uh, dyan sa US, there are no federal level regulations. Instead, states are responsible and their attitudes are different from one state to another. For example, is yung New Jersey legally requires compliance with certain private standards, while Georgia does not intervene at all. However, like Georgia, most studies at least require compliance with the National Electric Safety Code or NES, a private standard set by IEE which is similar to technical standards of electrical equipment of Japan. Makikita nyo dyan is yung public utility uh, quoted voluntary standards with NEC and NES. Ano nga ba yung NEC? Yung NEC is the set of safety rules that applies to installation and maintenance of electric wiring system within people's homes and within business and commercial buildings. It addresses issues that include wiring, protection, methods, material, equipment, and special considerations for special occupancies. Uh, what does the National Electrical Code do? Uh, Drafted and published by the National Fire Protection Association, it promotes electrical safety best practices for electricians, craftsmen, and public when handling and or coming into contract with non-utility electrical equipment such as in building electrical wiring. As the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers has described it, the National Electrical Code applies to essential the load side of the end-to-end electrical infrastructure. Yung sumunod naman dyan is yung NES. NES is the uh, National Electrical Safety Code or NES is a US safety standard for proper and safety installation, operation, and maintenance of electric power utilities. There are substations and power lines, both overhead and underground lines. It is intended to protect both utility workers and the public. What does the National Electrical Safety Code 2, uh, drafted and published by Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, IEEE. They set minimum safety standards for power companies and electric utility companies, both public and private, governing such issues as when utilities must inspect their power lines, how those power lines are painted, and when utilities need to trim trees near power lines to prevent down power lines from causing electrocution or electric shock and injuries. Yung next naman is yung UK. UK, the Electricity Act of 1989 as the prime law regulates electrical utilities. It requires establishment of legally binding technical standards for electric equipment and designates the Electricity Safety, Quality, and Continuity Regulation of 2002, set by the Department of Trade and Industry or DTI as those standards. The regulation which provide basic specifications for electrical equipment regarding safety and stability of electricity supply are similar to the technical standards of Japan. The recommendation and the best practice is technical standards set by Electrical Power Network Association, are not legally binding and case equivalents to the interpretations of the technical standards in order standards of Japan, however, quickly construct their electrical equipment according to those standards in order to protect themselves from possible lawsuits. The expressions reasonability practicable represents UK philosophy, which, while adequate investment regardless of its cost, is essential for important and potentially hazardous equipment, and less important and relatively safe equipment should be reasonable and practicable deal with. And yung sa sumunod naman is yung sa Germany. Germany is traditionally there had no regulations regarding technical standards for electrical equipment. However, the regulations of electrical utilities necessitated a certain level of standards, and the new energy law, the new energy economic law 2005 stipulates electrical equipment should be maintained as technical safe and generally applicable technically standards should be observed, and it stimulates the technical standards set by Verband Sensor Electroconnect or BDE should be applied to electrical equipment, while national standards including British standards or BS and French standards or NF primarily provide basic specification for equipment materials and inspection methods. NVD standards also provide specification for equipment installation, which are covered by the technical standards for electrical equipment in Japan. And the fourth is France. As you can see in the table, the Electricity Distribution Law, enacted in 1906, was the first to regulate safety of electricity according to the law of the Government Ordinance in July 29, 1927, and the Ministerial Ordinance in May 17, 2001 were decreed. Those ordinances which provide technical standards are France's equivalent to the interpretation of the technical standards of Japan. Furthermore, French standards, which are practical implementation guides for the ministerial ordinance, provide detailed specification for electrical equipment. And government and ministerial ordinance refers to thus confer a legal binding force to French standards. As a result, even detailed technical standards are legally binding in France. And the last is the Australia. Uh, wait lang, back lang doon. In Australia, as in US states regulate electrical utilities both in Victoria and New South Wales, which our research mission visited, there are legally binding technical standards In Victoria, the Electricity Safety Act of Victoria confers a legal binding force to the electricity safety regulation set by Energy Safe Victoria or ESP. In the New South Wales, the electricity supply or safety and network management regulations require electrical utilities to establish and submit their own technical standards to the state, and the standard contents are left under each utility's jurisdiction. And for example, Energy Australian adopts the National Electricity Network Safety Code set by Electricity Supply Association of Australia or ESAA. And next slide is uh, to tackle about safety system for electrical equipment. Yung mga electrical equipment naman doon sa limang bansa, in all countries that our research mission visited, regulatory authorities conduct on-site inspections, particularly in UK. Inspectors stipulated by the Electricity Act annually inspect each electrical utility in all countries. In-house inspections of electrical utilities are left on the voluntary basis, and no country requires submission of safety rules. In all countries except US, electrical utilities are required to report serious accidents to regulatory authorities. Even in US, regulatory authorities reserve power to require electrical utilities to report accidents if necessary. Practical regulation each in country are described below. First is the electrical equipment in US is the content and strictness of regulation are significantly different from one state to another. In most states, the Public Utility Commission regulates electrical utilities, while electrical utilities in Georgia are regulated on with regard to the appropriateness of their electricity charge. The Public Utility Law of New Jersey provides regulations for electrical equipment of electrical utilities, while in Georgia, the state imposes very little regulations regarding safety and relies on safety awareness of electrical utilities. A self-reliant safety system that has been established in the long history of monopolistic regime of electric utilities contributes significantly to safety. And on the other hand, New Jersey safety system relies on cooperation between regulatory authorities and electrical utilities. New Jersey regulatory authorities are greatly aware of safety and electrical utilities, and their response with a self-reliant safety system, they complement each other very well. And sumunod dyan is yung UK. In the UK is Article 30 of the Electricity Act stipulates appointment of electricity inspector for inspection and examinations of electrical equipment. According to this clause, the electricity
Ano
inspectors
bang kulay
conduct
na yung
annual
kopi mo?
and random
Maganda yung
inspections
kulay.
for electrical utilities. In addition,
Sugar kasi
Article
yung
5
bumaba eh.
of the Electricity Safety Quality and Continuity Regulations of 2002
Huwag mo nang gas.
stipulates electrical utilities should inspect their equipment at adequate intervals and maintain
Kapag
complete
nakamute.
inspections record. However, there is no specification for inspection intervals and left in,
Sasakyan mo. Baka
in the
penalty.
jurisdiction of electrical utilities. Furthermore, the
Mas
Electrical
malalaki ka na
Work
lang. Baba ka
Regulations
pa mas
in 1989 stipulate
Pero
establishment
minsan
of
kasi gusto
inspection
maka
system of generating
baklaro.
and substation
Baka
equipment
dyan.
for workers and operator safety.
Ay, baka record.
The Electricity Safety, Quality and Continuity Regulations of 2002 also require electrical utilities to report serious accidents to TTI. However, there is no UK's equivalent status to Japan in electrical chief engineers. Sumunod dyan is yung Germany. Germany is a federation, federal, and state government share authority to regulate electrical utilities. However, regulations do not vary greatly from one state to another like other federations, including US and Australia. The federal government, each state government are invested with a certain level authority. The federal government directly regulates business aspects of electrical utilities, while state government regulates electrical equipment. The energy economy law provides almost all regulations regarding
Narinig mo
electrical
si ano,
utilities
asawa ng pinsan ko.
business. For example, Article 51 of the law requires
Ang
states to
sweldo,
report current
tutulog
status
ko eh.
and forecast of electricity demand and supply, supply capacity and
Kaskas sa kanila
reliability
binibigay.
failures and accidents, etc. To the federal government and provides them with authority to inspect electrical utilities. Equipment on site and
Si Papa,
inquire for
sweldo.
maintenance records. This
Hati-hati
clause
niya
was added in 2005
eh. Yung pera.
renewal.
Ay, tapos kung saan niya nilalagay.
And sa pangapat is Ministry of
Pero
Economy,
meron
Finance,
din ganun.
Industry Department of Energy Demand Market regulates electrical utilities. And the Ministerial Ordinance in May 17, 2001 specifies practical regulations. For example, the ordinance specify the height of wires above ground and separation between wires and trees, and requires electrical utilities that own transmission and distribution system to inspect records to
Ba't maano
authorities
ka? Hindi naman.
to
I
authorities
mean,
and to
alam mo lang,
report
pag may
public
lalaki,
accidents involving equipment failure and
sa dun lang sa mga
electrification to industry research institutes, which are provincial agency of Ministry of Economy, Finance, and Industry. In Australia naman is the Electricity Safety Act of Victoria stipulates
talamak pa naman sa
Energy
call
Safe
center chick.
Victoria or ESB may appoint enforcement officers to confirm compliance with it and its related regulations. Serious accidents and failures and
Thursday.
are required to be reported to ESB. And those involving distribution companies are publicly available. On the other hand, in the New South Wales, according to the Electricity Supply Act of the state, state inspectors reserve authority to inspect electrical equipment prior to its commencement of operation and authority to inspect the equipment on site in case of serious
Ikaw
accident.
hindi dito.
As in which victorious serious accident and failures to are required to be reported to the DUs, and those involving distribution companies are public available. There is no equivalent to Japan's electrical chief engineers
Pero
either in
nakapost siya.
Victoria or New South Wales.
Black.
Next naman is, papag-usapan din natin yung next slide. Yung next slide is, mapapag-usapan naman dyan is yung safety system for customers equipment. Silang lima uli yun. Ano nga ba yung safety system for customers equipment? All countries have technical standards for customers equipment, which are required by ministerial ordinance and others to be legally binding. However, it is customers rather than electrical utilities that are required to comply with the standards in US, France, and Australia.
Alam niyo
New
malapit
houses
na,
and
malapit
buildings
na ako
are
papasok.
required to be
Pag
inspected and by private inspection agencies employed by the owners, and they are supplied electricity only after safety has been confirmed. In Australia and New Jersey of US, there are no equivalent statues to Japan electrical
Yun
engineering
yung nasa loob
technicians.
mo ba?
Germany's
Yung nakasabay kita sa train.
sister system is also similar to those status. Although other countries do not have such status, some countries require workers to acquire adequate skills for safety. Practical system in which country are described below as it is essential to prevent fires and electrification due to defective electrical equipment. Each country has established qualification system for electrical equipment. In practical terms, Europe, US, and Australia have adopted qualification system of conformist European as uniform standards underwriters, laboratories, or UL, and regulatory compliance marketing, RCM, respectively. Ah, yung safety system for customers equipment sa US is cities and countries,
600
as
per
well
day.
as state public utility commission, regulates customers equipment.
Mamaya ano ba kayo? Parang
They
language
establish
free.
their own technical
Ganun ba
standard
kayo?
based on
Parang language free.
on the National Electric Code, or NEC,
Kasi sa
set
Accenture,
by the National Fire
kapag may
Protection
language
Association, and
premium ka,
inspectors employed by cities
naka-language
and
premium
countries
ka.
conduct on-site
Kumbaga parang
inspections for electrical equipment prior
sa
to its
ticket, VIP
commencement
ganun.
of operation. Generally,
Fluent
those
na yung
inspectors
English.
are from
Yun,
private
yun kasi,
inspection agencies
kapag sabi rin sa kanya,
qualified by cities and
papa-language premium
counties.
din siya. Kumbaga parang
Cities and
assessment
counties
lang din.
also conduct
Ayun, tataas yun sa
examinations and issue certificate for
25.
electrical engineering technicians.
Medyo fluent na ba?
Who are US equivalent to Japan's electrical engineering technicians and the required supervisor of electrical engineering tasks to acquire the certificate. Yung customer equipment naman sa UK is there was no
Ano na eh, na ano mo na
legislation
eh,
for domestic wirings.
nakasanayan mo na
The
eh.
regulations of
Nakakasanayan
electrical
mo na eh.
installation, or BS 7671, had been voluntarily applied. However, the building regulations, which was established in 2005 and is under the jurisdiction of Deputy Prime Minister, now requires compliance with the regulations Article 29 of the Guidance on Electricity. Regulations stipulates that electrical utilities shall reserve the right to refuse supplying electricity to inadequate electrical equipment of customers.
Oh, really?
However, there is neither obligation to inspect domestic wirings nor any equivalent
Goods nga guys.
requirements outlined for Japan's electrical engineering technicians. Although the Electrical Work Regulations
Accenture
of
kasi meron.
1989 prohibit workers without adequate knowledge and experience in electrical engineering from entering work sites
20 plus.
that require certain qualifications. It is not for the benefit of improving the performance of customers' equipment, but rather to ensure worker safety.
Munti.
However, the performance of customers' equipment is likely to improve if only workers with adequate knowledge and experience are allowed to engage in engineering tasks.
Oo, okay lang. Pero
Sa Germany naman is states are vested with authority to regulate customers' equipment according to an ordinance.
Magkano
The general rule
magkano
for
pinapagas?
supplying electricity to customers,
Tapos 5 days
which obligates customers to comply with
1,008.
rules for
na.
safety.
Hindi.
Electrical utilities are not required but vested with authority to confirm customers' equipment compliance with technical standards for connection to transmission system, and they reserve a right to refuse connection to customers' equipment
anong
that
gas
is
mo?
not of required quality.
Unleaded.
Sa France naman is
Ano bang ibig sabihin nun pag
the
unleaded?
government ordinance in
Ano
December
naman,
14,
mas
1972,
mabango lang.
which was
Pag
decreed
premium kasi,
under the Building and Housing Law. It provides for
parang
safety
mas
inspection
maganda lang
of
sa motor
customers'
mo.
equipment,
Pero yung
and it
depende
requires
kung ano yung
owners
sinabi
of
sa'yo.
new houses to have
Kung ano yung dapat
inspection
ilagay mo sa
agency
motor
to
mo.
examine
Pero yung pa-premium,
them and submit inspection certificates
Pero,
issued by the
mahirap,
agencies to distribution
papatanggal mo pa
companies.
yung ano nun, unleaded na
Furthermore,
mga gas.
it
Hindi mo
stipulates
magastos.
that distribution
Pag gusto mo
companies
magpalit ng premium,
reserve authority to
papatanggal mo
inspect
lang
customers'
yung
equipment
unleaded sa
in case where
kasi
equipment failures
mamaya, pag
pose a risk to their distribution system. In Australia, in Victoria, the electrical safety installation regulation is equivalent to the ordinance for the technical standards for domestic wiring. In Japan, while in New South Wales, Article 32 of the Electricity Consumer Safety Act stipulates any electrical equipment that do not comply with wiring rule shall not be supplied with electricity. Both states require the new equipment of customers should be inspected and certified by qualified electrical engineering companies prior to an electricity supply from electrical utilities. And furthermore, there are equivalent statutes to the past electrical engineering education in both states. Next naman, next slide.
Bawa. So for this
Uh,
I want to change my union. Suddenly type
Safety system for thermal power generation equipment. Among thermal power generation equipment,
okay. Ganun.
boilers and pressure vessels are critical for
Step
safety
paper.
maintenance
Okay, tapos pag
as
nag-process ako.
vapor or gas leaks from such
So
equipment
tignan ng
due
gusto
to
ko.
damage. Due to equipment
So ano, yung
damage
pangalawang tatanong mo,
may
the
lead
first
to
and last
serious
name.
accidents such
First and
as
last name.
explosion.
Okay, kada
Sabi dyan is
verification magka-change.
current
Thank you for that
technical
information.
standards for boilers
Do you
and
know the
pressure
last four digit
vessels
of your credit card
in the
that you'll
US
be using to
and
purchase this
Europe
account?
are largely at
Yun lang
the
din
same
i-update mo.
level of
Last 4
details as
digits.
Japan
Last four
standard.
digit.
Several specifications
Ganun
including
din.
inspection
Tapos next
procedures
time
are
ulit, postal code.
different. While
Kailangan
Japan's
sabay nila
electrical
at least
utilities voluntary conductor on periodical inspections under the
mo doon.
jurisdiction of Ministry of
Tapos
Economy.
kapag
Trade and
suspicious,
industry, according to the
Bawa, ayaw
electrical
makipag-coordinate.
utility law, insurance companies and other private inspection agencies conduct the
You are not
inspection
providing any
on behalf of
verification.
electrical utilities in the US and Europe. And the safety of system of boilers and pressure vessels
If you're gonna coordinate
in
right now,
US
we can solve
is
this problem.
regulated by each state's regulatory agency based on the state law. Even though the boiler and pressure vessels
Minsan
code
nakaka-order
of
yung papareho ko yung
ASME design
Hindi nila
standard
makita yung
and
payment method nila, kaya i-revoke
the
yung account.
inspections code of
Pag
NBI
revoke mo
do
ito,
not have
cancel
legal
subscription
force.
totally.
Each state
Para
law
ma-update nila yung payment.
prescribes
So if yung sa
that
kanila, I'm
they
gonna do some
should be
troubleshooting
used
with your
as
account, if that's okay,
authoritative
you might
private
find that
standard.
a little
And
bit
it is the characteristic that
obnoxious,
private insurance companies
because
contribute
troubleshooting
significantly
will
to the
be
safety of
canceling your
boilers
account in
and
order
precious
to send
vessels
you
because of
another payment method.
historical background.
Pag di nila ayaw, sabihin mo, okay,
Additionally, special inspections from
you
insurance
just have
companies
to wait until
inspect
the
the boilers that
subscription
are covered by
and
the
the grace
insurance
period.
policy.
So you can
The
update your
pressure
payment. If you
equipment
want to solve this
directive
problem now, I can go ahead and do that.
to PED has been in
Cancel
force
your
since
account so you can
2002 in
update your
Europe.
payment method.
Members countries as a design standard for boilers and pressure vessels. Each member country has adopted a certain
Minsan may galit doon
part
na
of standard, which is compatible with
oh, we
the
can see your account
PED
is dispute. Dispute will mean
or pressure
meron
equipment
silang Disney
directive,
Plus monthly,
so that
meron
its
silang
own
bundle.
national
Yung
standards
bundle
and
kasi kasama din yung Disney
uh,
Plus. So kaya akala nila
standards
na
in
bibili
each
sila ng
country.
bundle.
On the
Yung
other,
Disney Plus,
hand,
minus na
there
dun
is
sa
no
bundle.
standard
Kumbaga
for
discounted na
boiler
kasi meron na sila
and
Disney
pressure
Plus.
vessel
So kala
inspection
nila,
as historical backgrounds neither from the country of another, so they are inspected under each country law and standard.
cancel your account and the monthly subscription.
And
But
next
it's
na,
just the same. But it's just the same subscription.
base din sa table na nakikita nyo, yung regulation and standards
It's
for
actually
boilers,
not very great. If you
sa
cancel this account,
sa limang state na yan is merong regulations and design code tsaka
Sa akin kasi
regulatory
telephone,
agency.
panigurado
Sa US,
marami ang tawag nito.
meron siyang regulations by each state. Yung
Wala
design
kasi
code
sabi.
niya is Boiler and Pressure Vessels
Siyempre,
Code of uh, ASME Private Standard. And yung regulatory agency niya is Regulatory Agencies of each
sheritin na
state.
ng gabi. Oh.
Sa UK naman is yung PED is yung Pressure Equipment Directive, the Pressure System Safety Regulation. Yung design code niya is BS 11113, BS 2790, or ibig sabihin is National Standards. And regulatory agency niya is the Department of Trade and Industry. Sa Germany naman is yung PED niya is the Equipment Safety Law or DCG. And yung design code niya is the TRD. And yung regulatory agency niya is Bundesministerium for Wirtschaft and Arbeit. Sa France, same lang din ng PED, and yung design code niya is NF E32-100 COBAP, National Standard and Private Standard, and Minister de Incomunities Finance Industry. And sa Australia is regulation by each state. And same lang din sila. And next slide naman.
Huwag lang pagpuwisan, huwag lang mangiti.
Uh,
Ang ina mo, ingay.
Technical points on power system interconnection between nation.
Pala ako ba?
Sabi dyan is one of the most prominent grids in Europe is the UCT
Ayun na,
or
lapit na.
Union for
Sa
Coordination of
inyo sa aming
Transmission of
training, tapos
Electricity. A
training na
grid
tapos,
operator
yung
in Europe which
pagpa-follow
is
na,
responsible
follow
for
na,
coordination with the
Pinapaprovide
other
namin lahat.
34 grid operation in 23
Pinapapasa na
countries.
lahat.
In
SSS,
Europe to secure overall
Reggie
reliability of the interconnected power system.
POR,
OCTE was founded in 1951.
yung third year.
It was originally
alam nag-aaral ka?
OCT
Hindi,
or
alam nila
Union
na
for the
stop ako
Coordination
ng
of Transport and Production
year.
of Electricity and included generation companies.
once na nakapasok mo,
However, generation companies were separated and now finally used OCTE consisting of grid operation division only was established in 1999.
once na.
Gawin mo reference.
UTCE established the operation handbook
Basta
as the
sabi sa
reliability
mag-provide
standards
ng
of
registration.
grid operation rules
Once
for
na nakapasok ako, pwede na akong
interconnected
pwede ko
power
naman siya
system in
binag-aaral pa
Europe.
kanina. Interviewer ng
Uh, yung OCTE daw is meron siyang operation handbook stipulates the following points regarding the OCTE power system interconnection for each grid operator. Una dyan is yung normal state.
sa'yo,
Normal state na, yung normal state, meron
yung
siyang
paramahan sa amin online.
maintain voltage within the range of 380 to 420 kV in case of
Kaya. Okay, third year.
system, finding reserve saving and preparation for failure. Sumunod is complying with N-1 criterion taking periodical repair into consideration both in planning and operation.
Have an emergency.
N-1 refers to criterion where there is no serious supply interruption even if equipment of the section is out of service such as failure of one transmission line. Sumunod is system stability check by simulation and data exchange between grid operation through the SCADA system. And sumunod is emergency state. Emergency state is recovery procedure agreement between neighboring grid operators in case of failure. Sunod is confirming system condition method agreement between neighboring grid operation in case of failure. Next slide. Ito naman is the safety system management system in Asian countries. The safety management system in China, next. The safety system management system in China is the technical standards and relevant statutes in China have five characteristics. Una dyan is yung since power companies are basically state-run, the technical standards including industry standards are formulated by government agency. Yung two, under the
Pag nasa loob kayo, nagmamask kayo?
standardization Act, the safety-related standards and
Hindi na
those
required.
specified by law of administrative ordinance as mandatory are all legally binding standards.
Nasa
Accordingly,
vaccinated ka na.
compliance with the electrical safety-related standards is
Sige na,
legal
mapapasok
obligation. And three is there are different technical standards for urban and rural areas. The low voltage work safety code for rural areas and safety code for electrical use in rural area have been established especially for rural areas. The specification in the Standardization Act and the ordinance on the standardization management in electric power industry demonstrate a clear intention by the Chinese government to adopt international standards in its national
Pizza.
industry standards. And yung last is five, similar to the system in Japan, consumers have obligation to ensure electrical safety for their own installation. In addition, working competency equivalent to the electrical technician requirements in Japan is mandatory for those engaging in electrical engineering works in China. Base dun sa table na yan, yung safety-related system is merong dalawa, Electricity Act and Road Safety Act. And nakapalog doon is yung most or CERC ordinance. And yung nabuo nila is na industry standards, yung mga na-discuss nila kanina ay yung Electrical Work Safety Code, Power Plant Substation, and electrical power line, thermal plant, thermal power plant, overhead power line, work safety code for electrical construction or substation, and guidelines for power system security and stability, low voltage for
Saan mo?
safety code for rural area, safety code for electricity used in rural area, and the last is the code on
Ay, di ka na.
electrical accident
SSS.
investigation. And sa kabila naman is yung standard
Nahulugan eh.
systemization. Merong Standardization Act,
HMO.
Government Ordinance on Implementation of SA, Ministerial Ordinance on National Standardization Management, Ministerial Ordinance on
Yun.
Industrial Standardization Management,
Nahulog na siya.
and CERC Ordinance on Standard Management in Electric Power Industry. Sumunod na slide.
Para talaga ng company namin. Pagka,
Ito yung safety system in South and Southwest Asia. 11 countries
pero dahil pa rin na-absent.
in Southeast and Southwest Asia, in 15 countries, we research have some kind of technical standards. So the regulation for electric utility in each country is different. All technical standards has legal obligation based on relative law. Especially in Singapore, technical standards has obligation based on Electricity Act. So this case is good example for technical assistance in developing country. Una dyan is the country where their technical standards.
Pumapasok siya ng
Una dyan is yung the Republic of Indonesia.
Sabado linggo.
Dami
niya tinatawag.
So the Republic of Indonesia is there are technical standards such as the distance required between lines and objectives by ministerial ordinance. Enacted in 1992, confers legal status on the technical standard, various equipment specification and inspection procedures for generation, transmission, and distribution are described in a number of which
Installan mo
are
ba
based on IAC.
Installan mo ba
Sa Cambodia naman is, the Kingdom of Cambodia is, the Electricity Act was established as the regulatory law for electric power industry. According to the stipulation in Section 5, the EAC is responsible for supervising power company compliance with all of operational safety and environmental technical standards promulgated by the MIMI. Please refer further details.
Pagtripan mo katrabaho mo.
At sunod is the Republic of Singapore. In Singapore, the electricity of the Republic of Singapore is the Electricity Act stipulates the electricity license should comply with the code of practice and other standards of performance issued or approved by the Energy Market Authority or EMA and direction given by EMA. And the Kingdom of Thailand is in the process of enacting an electricity industry act which aims among a number of objectives to promote a secure and safe provision of electric power. At present, she draft act has been prepared and is under final review in Thailand. And the Republic of the Philippines is, in the Philippines, the Republic Act number 9136, also known as the Electric Power Industry Reform Act of 2001, was enacted in 2001 to facilitate reforms in electric power industry. In this act, Transco is required to ensure and maintain the reliability, adequacy, security, stability, and integrity of the national grid in accordance with the performance standards set forth in the grid code. Yun yung mga na-explain ng nakaraan. And the Socialist Republic of Vietnam is the entire industry from electricity generation to electricity consumption, house wiring and electrical equipment is regulated by Electricity Act, which was enacted in December of 2004. And Malaysia is the Electricity Supply Act in 1990, the Electricity Supply Regulations, the IE Wiring Regulations, Edition 16 have been enacted to establish a set of technical standards for the electric power industry. And sunod is yung Laos is electric, electricity law was established as the regulatory law for electric power industry. In February 2004, the Laos electric power technical standards were formulated and legally binding authority was confirmed upon the
Ilang minutes na po tayo?
electricity law. And
Basa,
India,
explain. Basa, explain.
India is the Electricity Act was enacted in 1910. The Act requires every transmission license to comply with the technical standards for transmission system operation and maintenance as stipulated in the nawala yung slide ko. Ayun. Great standards specified by the Central Electricity Authority. And sa Nepal, uh, NEPA Section 22, 2049 of the Electricity Act stipulates that the license of electricity generation, transmission, or distribution facilities should operate in accordance with the electricity quality standards and other technical requirements prescribed. And sa Pakistan, in Pakistan, the Regulation of Generation, Transmission, and Distribution of Electric Power Act in 1977 prescribes that the National Electric Power Regulatory Authority should be exclusively responsible for prescribing and enforcing performance standards for generation, transmission, and distribution companies. And ito naman yung country where there is no technical standards. Ano dyan is yung Myanmar. Yung Myanmar is the two main laws governing the power sector are the Electricity Act of 1910 and the Electricity Supply Act of 1948. The latter legislative served to national the electricity supply sector which was brought under the MPP in 1972. Yung Sri Lanka naman is Electricity Act number 28 of 2002 was enacted in 2002 repealed the Electricity Act number 19 of 1950, while administration of the era 2002 was placed under the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka or PUCSR. Yung Bangladesh naman is
Oo nga, no.
the Electricity Act of 1910 is the law which regulates electric power business. However, it does not address technical matters or contain clause related to electric facilities. And pinubutan naman is yung at present there are no any technical standards with respect to electric power generation, transmission, and distribution in Bhutan except regarding the permissible voltage fluctuation for transmission and distribution. Plus minus 5% and the permissible frequency fluctuation plus minus 3% published in the DAS or power data. And yun lang po yung report ko sa safety sa safety system and development countries. Next na magre-report po is si RULL po.
So, okay. Ako naman. I will discuss the 6 recommended practice of technical cooperation on electric power technical standards. So, under nitong topic na to is yung mga recommendation sa preparation ng technical cooperation sa electric power tsaka sa technical standards. Sumunod dito is yung preparatory study. And yung last is yung mga items na require for attentioning for conducting the main study or flowing ng study na to. So, next slide. So, ayan, yung 6.1. Recommendation practice of preparation of technical cooperation on electric power technical standards. Information collection and analysis of legal framework of electricity law and current situation of electric power industries in host countries are critical important for successful technical cooperation on electric power technical standards under the electricity law, wherein after being referred to as a technical standards, the technical standards are the main component of technical regulation under electric power generation to electricity demands and to secure safety on electricity supply and consumption. So, technical regulation consists of various regulatory measurements as technical reviews on designs of electric power works and on-site inspection prior to the commissioning of electric power works by regulatory agency, and requirements of reporting on faults of electricity supply and accident caused by electric supply and consumption to regulatory agency as well as technical standards. So, dito may apat na main component ang isang technical regulation under ng electricity law. Unang-una dito is yung pagkakaroon ng secure consistency of frequency. Pangalawa is dito yung voltage. Pangatlo is yung reliability of electric supply from the power generation to electrical demands. Balik mo na doon. And, and yung last dito is yun nga, to secure the safety on electricity supply and consumption. So, the technical regulation is consists of various regulatory measurements. Tulad nandito yung mga technical reviews sa designs of electric power works. Pati na rin dito yung on-site expectation prior sa commissioning of electrical power works by the regulatory agency. Ayun, agency. And also, requirements of reporting the false electricity supply and incident that's caused by technical standards dito. So, it should be noted na dapat natin maintindihan itong mga regulatory framework nila sa technical regulation na basic requirements for JICA staff to design a technical corporation on technical standards. Kasi dito naka-objective yung technical corporation sa technical standards. Kasi hindi limited ito na i-establish itong mga standards na to, but it is also improving compliance of technical standards to secure the reliable, efficient, and the safety ng electric supply. Next slide. So, ayan. 6.11 Information collection and preliminary analysis prior to preparatory study. So, information collection and preliminary analysis of electric law, relevant regulation, and current situation of electric power industry, etc., are necessary to conduct a preparatory study on technical corporation to establish the technical standards effectively. It is necessary to conduct a project formulation study or preliminary study prior to preparatory study. If above mentioned information is not available in Japan. So dito, kailangan lang nila mag-collecta ng mga information about dun nga sa preliminary analysis, sa law, sa relevant regulation, etc. So yun lang dito yung kailangan natin collectahin. So next slide. So unang na dito is yung pagkakaroon ng collection sa electric law and relevant regulation. So, collection and analysis of existing technical standards, including the purpose of updating the technical standards, are necessarily in the case of technical cooperation on updating the existing technical standards. So, collection of existing technical standards in advance to preparatory is extremely important. Kasi sa most of the countries, official sa most of the countries, hindi official nga sa kanila yung English. Kasi may mga translation sila sa mga technical standards in a local language into technical takes time. So, it is basic requirement or to be able sa atin na maintindihan kung ano nga ba yung mga legal structure sa electricity law. Kabilang na din dito yung technical standards. To design technical cooperation projects on the technical standard effectively, dapat natin magkaroon ng collection ng electricity law and yung mga relevant regulation under the law and ito yung pinaka-priority nila. So, yung background information, collection, analysis on enchantment of electricity law, katulad na lang ng electric power policy and EDC, may be helpful or makakatulong sa atin para maunawaan palalo ano yung mga needs, ano nga ba yung mga mission ng technical standards if yung law na yon is bago lang or bagong established pa lang. Next. Next slide. Ayan. Sunod na dito is yung institutional framework of government organization which is responsible to electric power policy and regulation. So this variation include electric power supply by the government agency, electric power supply by vertical integrant government owned by electric company, electricity supply by combination of government owned by power generation and transmission company and private distribution company. And yung power supply by private electrical company. During this transitional period, to move to fully unbundle o mapaghiwalay and revitalize, ma-private yung electric power companies, there are be many variation of institutional framework of electric power supplier. May mga expert sa electric power technologies at sa mga industries ng isang ministry o kaya naman sa isang regulatory agency. Kung ang for example, kung ang government ay mag-aari ng isang electric power company ay isa sa pribado ito. So, kamakailan lang ginawa nila yan. Sa kadahilanan na karamihan ng mga experts ay pinipili na manatili sa isang pribadong kumpanya ng electric power. Kaysa sa lumipat sa government. Ang kaso, wait lang. Ang kasong ito ay maaaring eksperto ng kumpanya ng kuryente ay kailangan idagdag sa katapat na proyekto. Sa makatuwid, mahalagang suriin ang institusyonal na balagtas at sa kapasidad ng organisasyon ng gobyerno na maging responsable sa patakaran at regulations ng kuryente upang matukoy ang mga angkop na katapat na organisasyon at tao. Ang impormasyong ito ay kailan lang lumabas upang matukoy ang mga angkop na organization na bisitahin itong preparatory study natin. So, next. Wait lang. Ayan, 3. So, number 3. Institutional framework of electric power industry and current situation of electric power works. So, yun lang. So katulad din karamihan dito, ito lang din yung collection and pag-a-analyze ng mga existing technical standards. Kabilang na rito yung mga purpose ng pag-update ng technical standards, ng mga necessary cases of technical cooperation on updating the existing standards. So, collection of existing standards in advance, parang same lang. Parang same lang sila sa number 3. So, excuse me. Kung ang isang electricity law ay naglalayon na isa pribado o i-unbundle ang mga industriya ng kuryente urgent, ang pagdagdag ng mga transmission code at distribution code ay maaaring ang unang priority upang matiyak ang pagkakapareho at pagiging maasahan ng mga serbisyo sa paghahatid at pamamahagi. Kung ang isang bagong batas ng electricity law, ang pangunahing nilalayon nito matatag ng mapagkumpentesyang power generation sa market. Pagpapatatag ng mga teknikal na pamantayan sa kapangyarihang henerasyon ay maaaring ang unang prayoridad. Sa mga tuwid, ito ay napakahalaga upang matukoy ng mga prayoridad ng teknikal ng mga pamantayang itatag sa pamamagitan ng pagkokolekta at pagsusuri. Yun nga, collection and analysis ng mga impormasyon sa kasalukuyan at hinaharap na balagtas ng institutional ng industriya ng kuryente. So, kinakailangan din pag-aralan ang mga So, wait lang. Nawala. So, kinakailangan din pag-aralan ang mga kasalukuyang situation ng industriya ng kuryente at mga gawa ng kuryente at gagawa ng kuryente upang matukoy yung priority at yung saklaw ng mga technical na pamantayan. Halimbawa, yung prioridad na magtatag ng technical ang mga pamantayan sa particular na teknolohiya ng pagbuo ng kuryente ay nakasalalay sa halo ng pagbuo ng kuryente sa isang host country. At ang mga saklaw ng mga technical na pamantayan sa transmission at distribution ay nakadepende sa sitwasyon ng mga pagpapaunlad ng linya ng transmission at paggamit ng mga underground cable at iba pa. Sa mga tuwid, ito ay nirekomenda na mangolekta at magsuri ng impormasyon sa mga industriya ng kuryente tulad ng taunang ulat ng mga kumpanya ng kuryente. So, next slide please. So, number 4 is organization to establish technical standards and relevant government agency. IEC and ISO has been developing various technical standards sa buong mundo. It is important para sa atin na maintindihan yung progress of standardization relevant to electric power supply and demand to establish technical standards. So, ayun nga. Sa pagkokolekta ng mga informasyon at mga analysis sa isang organisasyon ng standardization sa host country, karaniwan ang isang ahensya ng gobyerno ay may pananagutan para sa pag-i-establish sa mga mamumunlad na bansa. At ang mga pag-unlad ng and standardization ay kinakailangan dahil itong mga impormasyon na nakolekta at yung mga analysis na to, maaari nitong i-identify yung mga appropriate organization para mabisita during the preparatory study. Ang pangongolekta at pagsusuri ng impormasyon sa balagtas ng institutional at mga aktibidad ng mga organization pang-akademiko at pang-industriya. Sa mga teknolohiya at industriya ng kuryente ay nirekomenda ito upang suriin ang mga possibility na gagamitin ng mga organization upang bumuo ng mga voluntaryon, technical na pamantayan at mga alituntunin nito. So next. So next is preparatory study. Okay. Next slide. So, scope of electricity law and legal structure of technical standards. Regulations on electric power industry generally consist of business regulation. So, business, licensing, and staffing regulation, and etc. And technical regulation. So, ito na nga yung standards of frequency of voltage, standard of electrical equipment connection standards. It is also important to analyze the scope of electricity law in terms of flow ng electricity. Primary, yung mga energies are converted to electricity at electric power station. And then, generated electricity will be delivered sa mga customer through transmission and distribution lines. So, electric power industries, sila yung mga responsable sa pag-deliver ng electricity sa mga customers. Tayong kumukonsume ng mga electricity. So, therefore, electric law usually regulates from electric power generation to distribution of electricity. However, sa pagkakaroon ng improper house wiring can cause electricity links problems and sometimes faults of wiring. House wiring causes problems of quality electricity supply and other customers. So, yun nga, napakalaga na magkaroon tayo ng proper wiring sa ating mga bahay. So, taking into account of these problems, tulad ng binanggit ko kanina, yung electric law may include itong mga regulation na to doon sa house wiring in the same developing countries. Next. Ayun na nga yan. Katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, yung electric law is undernet ng electrical law is yung business regulation and yung technical regulation. Dito, makikita nyo sa business regulation, under nito yung license ng business nyo, yung tariffing regulation, and yung mga regulation, accuracy of electricity meter. So, yun nga, dapat sobrang accurate yung mga mga electric meter natin. So, dito sa technical regulation, makikita nyo naman dito yung sa safety and yung technical regulation to secure yung consistency ng mga network. So, yung mga power lines natin, mga distribution lines natin. So, safety regulation, ito yung sa mga public safety, ito rin sa tahanan natin, sa mga kalye, ganyan. yung mga lines, and yung sumunod dito is yung mga labors, yung manggagawa naman. Okay? Next. So, technical regulation of power industry by other law. Electric power industries are regulated by other laws to regulate specific and technical issues such as labor protection law, environment protection law, and fire protection law, and end of thinking capacity, as well as yung electricity law natin. So, electric law itself may have mission to rel- relocate electric safety, especially not only to limited the electric power sa industry, but it is also by other industries and electricity consumption. The relationship between electricity law and other laws is to regulate cross-industrial specific issue is different by countries because by different histories and enchantment of this law. So, even most of the countries may labor protection law, environment protection law, fire protection law. So, wait. So, katulad yung mga law na binanggit ko, ayan. In some countries, electric industries are regulated to specific technical issue, both electric and law to regulate. Wait lang. Parang, okay. Okay. Yan, so ito, yung which are regulated by other laws specified to the technical issues regarding to electric power generation, electricity law that often includes in specific issues which are regulated by other law. So yung electric law, kailangan ito i-include yung technical regulation on cross-industrial specific issues kung yung host ng country walang laws to regulate itong mga issues na binanggit natin. Ayun lang. So, next. So, voluntary technical standards and guidelines. There are various voluntary technical standards on electric power supply and demand as well as the technical standards under electricity law. These standards include the international standards such as IEC and ISO, national standard such as JIS, and technical standards which are established by academic o kaya naman industrial organization ng isang bansa. Now, these voluntary technical standards as well as in-establish sa Japan, kabilang na rin dito yung mga developing countries. And ito rin ay ni-recognize at ginagamit as de facto standards in each country. Although karamihan ng mga standards na to hindi mandatory technical standards under electricity law. Ang technical na pamantayan sa mga bansang ito ay karaniwan naglalarawan lamang sa pangunahing pangangailangan at voluntaryo na pamantayan ang ginagamit bilang detalyeng paglalarawan ng mga technical na pamantayan. Sa mga bansang ito, ang mga technical na pamantayan ng kuryente, ang batas ay madalas na tumutukoy sa mga voluntaryong pamantayan bilang mga bahagi ng pinag-uutos na kinakailangan ng batas. Minsan, voluntaryo ang mga pamantayang ito tinutukoy bilang ang mga bahagi ay pinag-uutos ng technical na pamantayan ng batas ng kuryente. O kaya naman ang voluntaryo ng mga technical na pamantayan ay nagiging mandatory sa pamantayan sa ilalim ng batas na to. So next, enforcement of compliance of the technical standards. Technical regulation include regulation on inspection and reporting faults or incidents, as well as establishment of technical standards. The technical standards are not effectively complete without this relevant regulation. It is common to evaluate the capabilities of electric power companies to comply with the technical standard as well as the financial and institutional capability during reviewing of application of electric power supply service license. Although there are variantly of measurements and procedures to confirm compliance of the technical standards in each country. Ayan. So, napaka-common na magkaroon ng expectation dito bago yung commissioning ng electric power works tsaka periodical inspection during ng operation ng isang electric power company. As part of power sector restructuring in the world, it becomes common to establish an independent regulatory organization to regulate the electric power industries. Karamihan sa mga bansang ito o kaya yung mga ministry yung responsible na i-regulate yung mga electric power industries. And kabilang dito yung power policy na promulgates the technical standards and independent regulatory organization is responsible to enforce the technical standards. In other case, independent regulatory organization promulgates and enforce the technical standards is very important para na rin maintindihan ng enforcement measures the technical standards and yung institutional framework to establish and enforce the technical standards in order to identify yung mga capacity ng building and yung mga counterpart ng mga agency. Okay, next. So, technical standards on rural electrification, electricity laws in some developing countries establish specific technical standards on rural electrification, which is different from technical standards for traditional electric power industries. It is also necessary to evaluate if a nation-wide technical standards are applicable for rural electrification projects in terms of financial ability availability in countries with a low electrification rate. Now, meron tatlong major technologies to electrify the rural areas. Ito na kabila na dito is yung including of existing distribution networks. Pangalawa is yung stand-alone mini grind with some small power plant electrification, and yung stand-alone electrification. The technology and the quality of service of standalone mini grind electrification and stand-alone on-site electrification are quite different from the traditional electric industries. Although the technology of grid extension is the same as traditional electric power industries. It is necessary to evaluate carefully if the establishment of overall technical standards, including rural electrification standards, are required to effectively for the host of the country. Sa pagkakaroon ng gantong account, yung technical standards para sa mga rural electrification is sobrang iba sa technical standards in terms of technology and financial resources. Mahalaga ito para mas ma-develop pa yung technical standards sa mga rural electrification. Kasama na dito yung pag-develop ng rural electrification master plan than to develop yung the technical standards on rural electrification independently. Dahil yung technical standards sa mga rural area, yung electrification dito is needed to be balanced ng safety issues and yung economic issues niya. Next. Next is the procedure to establish or update the technical standards. The ultimate objective of technical cooperation on technical standards is the technical standards to promulgate as regulatory electricity law to be complied with by electric industry to provide reliable electricity safety. Napakalagaan na kumpirmahin yung mga procedure sa pag-promulgate and yung legal status nito. Dahil yung minister's order is very common sa mundo ng technical standards. Dahil yung legal framework and yung procedure sa pag-promulgate ng regulation is iba sa most of the countries. So yung pagkakaroon ng public consultation procedure and yung timetable from drafting to promulgate the technical standards are the most important issue among the procedures of establishment of the technical standards to design a realistic table of technical cooperation of the technical standards. Next, we have the items requiring attention for conducting main study or follow-up study. Next. Ayan. Unang-una dito is yung clarification of position on electric power technical standards. This point should be clarified when identifying key studies, issue, or preliminary study stage and between the study team and yung counterparts. When the main study parts and should remain as consistent focus, especially in case where counterpart is an electrical engineer from electric power industry. The standardization of equipment as the design standard based on consideration of economical effectively and other factors is always expected as technical standards for electric power. So, yung concept dito is yung standards must be different among of the countries. The countries, yung countries, yung contents ng ano nila, ng standards is required na pag-usapan po ulit, discuss between the counterparts and the study team to be held in advance. Next, we have the ito, the clarification of contents for electric power technical standards. So, wind load. To certain a wind load that is used to calculate the strength and practical wind velocity data is essential. However, in many cases, the data is not collected. So, dito, yung wind load, ito yung pagtansya nila kung gaano ba kalakas yung hangin sa isang lugar na yun para magtayo ng mga power lines natin. Enable na ma-distribute nila sa mga customers sa atin. So, next is yung height ng hindi. Wait lang. Okay. Height of conductor. The standard height of conductor differs from country to country. Nevertheless, the height of condition should be determined based on the condition of each individual country. Dahil napakalaga na ito dahil factoring requirements consideration of safety issues. So yun nga, napakalaga na ito para sa safety natin. Such as yung electric shock and yung mga investment issues natin. Tulad ng mga costs associated sa height ng conductor natin. So next. So ayan, ito yung mga height ng conductor sa mga developed countries. Nakikita nyo naman sa United States, United Kingdom, yung sa kanila is 5 meters and less than equal to 750 volts. And yung isa naman is 5.6 meters and greater than 750 volts, less than and equal to 22 kVL. Then sa United Kingdom, 5.8 meter, then less than 33 kVL, and yung Japan natin is 6 meter and less than 35 kVL. So yung eto nakita yung source nito is yung sa NES, yung sa diniscuss ni Vince, yung in safety and equality regulation of electric power such as 2002 United Kingdom Technical Standards on Electric Power Interpretation, yun sa Japan naman. So, next. Next. Wait lang. Okay, number 3. The use of naked wires and low voltage. The use of naked wires is widely authorized around the world, with being prohibited in Japan recently. A lot of because of ABC, aerial bundle cable, has been installed as wire at low voltage in developing countries. So, nevertheless, yung mga small utilities use yung mga naked wires and regulation governing tower height are not restricted. So, etong mga condition na to is likely to cause a electric shock kasi di masyado silang strict with regards sa height na to. So, therefore, yung study and yung discussion nila dito sa viewpoint na to ng safety and cost are needed to regarding installation of naked wires at a low voltage para maiwasan yung electric shock na to. So, next we have the differentiation by area. urban and rural areas. Double standards on safety are basically prohibited. However, it is may be ignored in some cases in a rural areas where restricting most of be essential after an assessment of relationship between risk and cost. So, yung yung British, ang approach nila dito is yung reasonably and practically should be applied. Tulad tulad na lang ng tower heights that may be able to set lower sa mga rural areas where na kung saan yung mga large vehicles hindi kayang dumaan or magpass. So, even if double standards are established, the areas in urban areas and rural areas should be clearly identified so that everybody is clear to understand on what the target area is. Next, we have the consideration area characteristic. The existing wind load standard, which is calculated according to prevailing conditions regarding extent of ice attaches to conductors as same as nationwide. So, ayun na nga. So, however, sa southern area is yung mga overprotective design na ni-require na alteration reflect the design that needed sa areas na yun to specific characteristic with the respect of to the technical standards on electric power interp- interpretation Sa Japan naman, meron tatlong different set of wind loads specification to compensates for the characteristics ng mga different areas. So, SWER or SWER. SWER is a method used all over the world for rural electrification. In fact, it is actually recommended by the World Bank and the ADB for implementation of rural electrification forecast is inadequate. There is a possibility of dual investment. Therefore, the sufficient study is necessarily when the swear method is being adopted. Furthermore, it is developed as the normal method. Therefore, some cases that require a particular standard to ensure the safety and prevent communication failure. So, napaka-autumn nitong method na to para sa lahat ng program. Kaso nga lang, if the demand forecast is inadequate, merong mga possibility ng dual investment tulad ng sinabi kanina. So, therefore, yung pagkakaroon ng sufficient study is necessarily kapag yung swear na adapt nito. And katulad nga, na dapat itong method na to, i-adapt na to when it comes to rural electrification and sa mga bagay-bagay. Ayan, next. Next slide. Wait lang. Balik. So, okay, next. So, number 3. Translation time from English to mother language and confirmation of accuracy post-transmission. It is extremely important to access the accurate of the contents after translation to confirm accuracy. It is important that the people accessing the translated materials are familiar with the contents. In Laos and Cambodia projects, we achieve high quality transmission and technical transfer through the transmission of counterparts. So, ayun nga. So, base nga sinabi dito, dapat accurate yung pagkakaroon ng transition from ayun nga, English to mother language kung nasa Japan ka man, sa Pilipinas, or what, or nasa anong country ka man. So, it is extremely important to access the accuracy of contents after translation to confirm see counter. Yun nga, tulad lang din ng explanation ko, dapat na sobrang accurate ng pagkakatranslate ng code na to. Next, we have the technical transfer to official charge of forming or utilizing electric power technical standards. The aim of the program to assist target countries with the technical standards on the electric power. It is not only to form them but also to make them the standards work adequately. So, so para ma-achieve itong technical transfer na to sa counterparts na who are utilizing the standards. Napakalaga ito dahil yung technical transfer is essential to gain their understanding with regards sa mga contents of each clause. Tsaka na rin yung pagkakaroon ng process to prepare for future attainment. In terms ng personnel transfer, technical transfer to more than one person, to one technical transfer to more than one. So yan ang pasam transfer and transfer. But the JIC studies team believe that training the trainers are self-dependent system organization by counterparts. So, itong method na to, napaka-effective to dahil pinakita nito sa mga projects na yun nga, na ginawa nila sa Laos and Cambodia. So, training the trainers yung next is 5. Consultation of opinions from regulated industries and customers. Apart from electric power utilities and supervising agency, railroad utility, telecommunication utility, manufacturer, companies, and customer are affected by technical standards on electric power. Therefore, when formulating standards related and industries and customers should be consulted in their opinion should be reflected in these standards. The NESE, landscape pala. Wait lang. Okay. Standards in making committee in the United States consists of the members described in the following box. So dito, yun lang, magtatanong lang kayo ng ano yung mga opinions ng mga power utilities, yung mga supervising agency, railroad, telecommunication, utilities, manufacturer companies, and yung mga customers with regards dito sa technical standards on electric power para sa ganun, kung may problema man matukoy at magawa ng paraan. Next, we have uh, so eto. Yan, kabila hindi, ito yung way sa pagkakaroon ng consultation. And yung Department of Energy, of Agriculture, Federation of Telecommunication, Cable TV Association, Railroad, Public Transportation Association. So dito sa mga nakikita nyo sa screen nyo to, dito kayo pwede pa-consult or sila yung magko-consult with regards sa law na to. Next. So, number 6, establishing the safety system. When the technical standards of electric power is formulated, ensuring safety will be difficultness unless the standards compliance is maintained. In the developed countries, leaving the matter to electric power utilities is possible from viewing points of social responsibility, preventing risks of court cases, and so on. In developing countries, however, expecting safety to be maintained on basis of voluntary activities and hard labor. So, yun nga, sa mga power companies or yung mga power plant, napakalaga na magkaroon ng isang safety system para yun nga, ma-prevent yung kahit anong incidents or accidents na pwede mangyari dun sa isang place na yun. Last, we have the view existing facilities management. Existing facilities management should be determined when the technical standards on electric power is formed. Obviously, dangerous facilities must undergo immediate repair, but others should be granted or some repair. So, yun nga. So, yung mga facilities na napakadelikado, lagi dapat silang magkaroon ng safety check or lagi nila dapat i-check yung mga gamit nila doon or yung mga machines para walang mag-cause ng accident or incident during those time. So, pero yung pag ano naman, yung yung iba namang hindi namang kailangan palagi ng repair, okay na yung once or two times a week nilang mag-undergo ng inspections. Next we have so ito yung 7 suggestion of technical cooperation in technical standards. So yan. So ito yung mga makita nyo dito yung mga suggestion para sa technical cooperation sa technical standards. Unang-una dito yung clarification of standards, purpose, yung mga objective. Yan, kailangan natin malaman yan. Ano nga ba yung mga purpose and objective ng isang technical standards. Pangalawa is yung mga contents nito, ano yung mga areas na covered nito, ano yung mga level of standards. Yung pangatlo is yung development ng mga equipment standards. Pang-apat yung mga incentives for technical compliance. Next is yung clarification of the legal system for technical standards. The selection of counterparts and technology transfer and yung pagkakaroon ng consultation of opinions from related organization and reflection sa standards. So, ayan. Wait lang, balikin mo. Ayan. Itong mga to, yung mga analysis nga, gaya yung sinabi ko, mga suggestions lang yan para sa technical cooperation sa technical standards. Next. So, 7.2. Suggestion for maintaining yung safety system. So, katulad nga sinabi ko niya, napakalaga na magkaroon ng isang safety system sa isang lugar para ma-prevent yung mga accidents or incidents na maaaring mangyari dito. So, yung inspection, so yung una-una, inspection by regulatory authority. So, yung pag-inspection sa mga lugar na to ay gagawin lang ng mga regulatory authority. So, hindi basta kung sino-sino lang yung magkakaroon ng expectations sa lugar na to. May specific na tao na yun lang yung pwede mag-inspect sa lugar na yun. So, power utility voluntary safety measures and yung inspection by special inspection organization. So, tulad nga sinabi ko, yung regulatory ayun nga, yung inspection by regulatory authority, kabilang siya dun sa mga inspection organization na maaaring mag-inspect dun sa mga lugar natin. So, 7.3 other suggestions, ito mga suggestions na lang to. Technical condition for interpersonal international network connection. Pangalawa is yung safety regulation for customers facility, and yung last natin is yung safety regulations for workers. So dito alam mo naman tulad din sa customers naman, ito yung sa house wiring. Dapat magkaroon ng safety regulation, yun nga, yung tamang wiring sa bahay nyo para walang anumang mag-cause ng spark and mag-cause ng fire sa bahay nyo. Next is yung sa workers, ayun nga, yung mga taong nagtatrabaho sa isang company or sa isang plant. And doon na po nagtatapos ang aking report. Ayan. Maraming salamat po sa pakikinig.